Welcome to Lawyers Who Learn, where we explore how attorneys' engagement and lifelong learning fuels their growth. Join us to uncover these journeys and gain insights for your legal career.
Johnna, welcome to Lawyers Who Learn. As I said before we started, we're both well-being and professional PD junkies, so I think this is going to be a really fun interview. So thank you for taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate being asked.
Yeah, you are definitely unique in the fact that you probably are. Next week will be my 1-year anniversary of doing Lawyers Who Learn. You've had the longest role at a single firm or organization. You've been at Finnegan for 30 years. Is that correct?
30 years. June was 30 years. Yes.
Which is unbelievable and fantastic. Your current title is Director of Professional Development. And as of 2 months ago, Wellbeing.
Yes.
So, very cool. Ooh, God, there's so much we can go, but let's start a little bit about this 30-year journey.
Yeah.
You started in 1995 as an HR assistant. What were you thinking? Where did you think you were going to go? What was your mindset in terms of where you are and like how you ended up from where you are to now?
Yeah. I worked at a nonprofit prior to that, and I just was done. It was just a couple of years, and I was looking for another adventure. And this job through an agency back then, back in the day when there was employment agencies were a big deal, they had this one, and I thought, okay, law firm, that's different. That's interesting. And someone had told me, like, law firm, I don't know, that's like a cutthroat place to be. And I don't know if how that's going to go. And I thought, why not? I'll just try it. And clicked immediately and loved the job and loved the environment. And someone during my interview told me here at Finnegan told me they're not lawyers first. They're engineers and scientists first because we're all IP. And so it's a little bit different than some traditional law firm models that I think some people have in mind. And so I found that really to be true. And I think back to my first, I literally can remember what I was wearing. It was 1995. I was like blue striped pantsuit thing. And I'm sitting in orientation the first day, and the way we did it and still do it is everybody starts on every other Monday. We sit in the room and they throw all this information at us, like drinking from a fire hose. And I just sat there and I'm like, docketing, all these terms, all these legal terms, like there's no way I'm going to make it. There's no way I'm going to make it. And 30 years later, I look back and I was like, what happened? Like, how did that even happen? And so, yeah, I just started doing kind of HR stuff. I was just doing timesheets, people signing people's timesheets, doing things. And professional development wasn't really a thing or had just kind of started to be a thing. There was definitely a divide between the recruitment side, right? We had a staff recruiter and an attorney recruiter, but the PD stuff wasn't really a profession then, or it was just starting to grow into a profession. And I just found myself gravitating in that direction toward the attorney side of things versus the professional staff side of things. And yes, grew up learning and doing all of this PD stuff.
So if I hear what you said correctly, you got the role through an agency.
Yeah.
You weren't necessarily looking for this role. This is just what was available at the time.
Correct. I will say I thought I would be a lawyer back in the day when I was growing up. And in fact, coming and living in DC, we used to come to visit DC a lot because it was a free, easy place for a family of 5 children to visit for vacation. And we went to the Supreme Court once, and I was like, I'm going to live here. I'm going to work here. I'm going to be a lawyer. That's what I want to do. And once I got through school, I was like, I don't want to go to school anymore. And so I did not become a lawyer. And then somehow I became lawyer adjacent, is what I call this.
Do you know who Catherine Marquez is from Brian Cave?
Oh, yeah.
So I interviewed her yesterday. It's not live yet, but she started in her first role at Sidley Austin.
Uh-huh.
And the first thing they did was put her in exit interviews.
Oh, gosh.
And she wanted to be a lawyer as well. After like her 4th or 5th exit interview, she's like, you know what? Maybe I'll be lawyer adjacent.
Yeah, exactly. Lawyer
So
adjacent.
that was a tough role to start in, but she's obviously excelled from that as well. I still want to take a moment to appreciate like 30 years. So first of all, let me just take a moment of pause. 30 years used to sound like a lot to me, but I've been doing Lawline now for just about almost 20 years and it feels like that.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, they say how 20 years can go by. And now I see it. But it's still it's my company. So it's a little different. How has your role constantly, because you're still in professional development, or you helped create it and build it. Can you just take us through some of the different, because growth is not usually linear. Maybe at a firm it is, but I just love to hear how things evolved and how you evolved in your career throughout.
Sure. Yeah, I think starting out in that HR role, it fit for me. It was clearly 30 years later. It's like because I consider PD like HR for attorneys. When I try to describe it to somebody, I call it HR for attorneys because I don't think people really know what professional development means out in the
Fascinating.
out in the world. Yeah. And so I think doing that, supporting people being successful, it just hit I guess, probably one of the values. I haven't really done a real assessment on that, but I've done many values assessments, but I haven't really put it together that learning some of the rules and rules are important to me. Fairness is important to me. And so doing that HR stuff, following the rules, making sure we were compliant with things kind of started that. And then learning more about what attorneys need to be successful, the kind of coaching piece, supporting piece. I think that has just really continuing to learn that. I was attorney HR assistant, it was my title at some point, again, before PD became a thing.
What year would you say PD became a thing? Since you have the experience, right? Since you started, it wasn't a thing. Was it early 2000s?
I mean, I guess the early 2000s, maybe I would say, is really when I started to connect with others in the networks of the legal recruiting networks. But then there was this kind of side arm of, okay, we're not doing really recruiting. We're doing this other piece of professional development. Yeah.
How many attorneys are at Finnegan?
Now 350.
350. And so when did you start thinking about, okay, we need to develop our internal programs to help them, not just on the substance of law, but the soft skills, the leadership, the management, their personal well-being?
So I think, I'm not someone who like sets a goal and goes after it. I typically let things happen to me, although I would say that's changed as I've gotten older. But I think back then it was like, hey, we need someone to do this. My boss at the time was incredibly connected in the legal recruiting and then starting to do the PD stuff. I should probably call it something different than stuff, the PD stuff, but there's just so much of it. So I think she really identified that I could pick up some of these things. Like we want to develop different curriculum for our attorneys. We want to talk about leadership and I think other presentation skills or those sorts of things. Business development, certainly our partners will talk about how they made partner before they had any business development skills and learned them after. And now it's so important to start so much earlier. And so I think as the growth of the firm evolved, I think there was about 120 attorneys when I started. So as the firm grew, I was able to lean into okay, what additional support do we need? What additional skills do our attorneys need? And where can we get those in-house or externally?
It helps when you're also personally invested in your own growth and your own skills. Correct me if I'm wrong, but in 2021, you started a daily meditation practice that I think you still do to this day, where it's 900 plus consecutive days.
Oh,
I mean, it was probably a lot more now. Yeah.
1400. I forget what my 17 something. Anyway,
17, well, it's 900 was probably whatever I read. It was, I didn't do my
LinkedIn a little while ago. Yeah.
So that is really interesting because it reminds me, and I want to learn more about this practice because this is Lawyers Who Learn. This is meditation comes up a lot from people and how even 1 minute a day can make a difference. What I love about the daily practice, I do that with several things. One of them is LinkedIn post daily. And I learned it from Jerry Seinfeld. Have you ever heard of a quote about breaking the chain? Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay. Jerry Seinfeld, when he was a beginning comedian, he asked one of his mentors how he should write his jokes. And the mentor said, instead of spending one full day a month and just going off like in the middle of nowhere and writing your jokes. Write 3 jokes a day and do that every single day. And then your goal becomes never breaking the chain. That's what you manage and that's what you focus. You don't focus on making the jokes amazing or great. You just focus on never breaking that chain so it's consistent. And that's essentially, without knowing, that's what you do. So take us into that a little bit. What started this? Maybe something at the firm, maybe not, when you started doing it. And what do you do? How has it evolved? And I would love to copy it because I would love to get to daily meditation. I don't do it enough.
Yeah. Thanks for asking about that. It's something I think that I'm passionate about, but not evangelistic about. So I don't talk about it a lot. I post on it occasionally on LinkedIn, but I've stopped talking about my streak. That's just really for me now. I
I hear you.
started because it was the pandemic, it's January 2021. And I had been dabbling in meditation a little bit. John Kropp is a good friend of mine, and John, who is the CEO now of Flourish, he had done some programs and we became friends, and he is a big meditator. And I was inspired by him to start practicing. And so I downloaded Insight Timer, and they had a January 1 challenge, 30-day challenge. So it's okay, why not? I'll start this challenge. And so it's a different meditation every day. I always do guided meditation. I can't sit and be by myself. I get too, it's like too much.
Just to be clear, it's an app and it's called
an app called Insight Timer.
Insight Timer. And I
Insight.
assume there's a monthly cost.
I have a free version.
Okay.
I have never done the plus version, but you can.
So you've done 1,400 days straight from an app called Inside Timer, and you haven't paid. Insight.
Correct. Insight Timer. Like
Insight Timer. I heard you say that, but I wrote it wrong.
That's okay.
Insight Timer, and you haven't paid $1. Amazing.
I haven't paid $1.
Which is great to know, because sometimes you think you need to spend $60, whatever it is. So that's great. Okay. So every day you go on, and do you randomly find it? Do you have a method, or do you just find something that works that morning?
I have some sometimes it depends on the mood I'm in. I have some regular that I listen to. When I first started, I listened to the same one probably for 6 months. It was about 8 to 10 minutes. And that was like a daily morning wake up practice. And
do you do it the same time every day?
I do it when I wake up.
Like literally what time?
6 a.m.
So you wake up, you brush your teeth, you go downstairs, and you sit on.
No.
Okay.
I wake up, I use bathroom, and then I sit in a chair in my room.
In your room. Okay.
I think if I even took those other 2 steps to go downstairs, I wouldn't happen.
Got it. I love that. It makes so much sense. Because you get distracted so easily. Go ahead.
Correct. Yeah. So make sure I'm not distracted by what my body needs to do. And then I can just go sit in my chair in my room, and I have a separate chair just for meditation. I don't sit there to read. I don't sit there to do anything else. I just sit there. I have a little candle if I need it or something. I don't often light the candle, but yeah, it's just a quiet little corner I have.
And it's 10 minutes and under, you're about?
10 and under. Sometimes, some days I'm, depending on what's going on in life, it's 3 minutes. And sometimes I put on a 5 or 6 minute one. And at the end of it, I was like, oh, wait, did I just meditate? Like, I don't even really remember, because distraction or whatever, there's too much else going on. But I try to pull back at least for a little bit of that.
I hosted a retreat this past weekend. We went to the Omega Institute in Rhinebeck.
Okay.
And we had Dr. Cortland Kahn, who is a guru in meditation, run us through a meditation. And by the way, I just want to give just because we mentioned your app, the app that he started, it's a nonprofit. It's called Healthy Minds.
Okay.
It's completely free as well. And it's actually designed, I just started using it. 1 million people have used it or downloaded it. Wow. So it's completely free. So not that you want to switch, but take a look at that, or just so anyone else listening can also understand that. Yeah. And when he had us do the meditation afterwards, he asked, there's about 50 people in the room. He's like, how many people did not think about something else during that meditation? Not one person raised their hand. No. So curious how forgiving or how okay you are with like just letting your mind go wherever versus just listening to what they're telling you. Yeah.
I had to learn that, I think, that's often when people ask me about it, it's often the first thing I tell them is it's not about clearing your mind. It's about the focus. And because experienced meditators will tell you, clearing your mind is impossible. Like, you're dead. If your mind is clear, you're dead. So really it's about trying to focus on the breath or the guided words that they're using and the gratitude or whatever topic you have, like self-love or forgiveness. There's all different kinds that you can choose from. And for me, it just happens to be whatever mood I'm in. I need a little confidence boost. Or if I'm in a pretty good mood, one of my favorites is loving kindness or metta
Okay.
meditation that goes outwardly. It also
Now,
comes in, but
so now that you've done it for so long, and with what I just said, with the not breaking the chain, where do you, I would love to know some of the benefits, and not like just, not that you're going to say this, but people are going to be like, oh, I'm calmer. Is there real things that there's benefits, or at this point in your mind, is it really this not breaking the chain? Like, even though you didn't know the terms, like, I'm doing this every day. I don't care, whatever. I'm just curious, because there's so many people who want to start, but they're just not sure it's worth doing.
Sure. I think it's both. For me, it's both. Some days I do it and I'm not in the mood and I don't want to do it, and I'm not going to break my streak or break the chain. I'm not going to do it. And so I'm going to meditate. I may or may not get fully into it. I may not fully appreciate the practice that day, but I do it because I want to keep my streak. But I think the benefits for me, the benefit is self-discipline. I think, as I may have mentioned at some point, like, it's the only self-care practice that I've ever not stopped. I try this and I stop, and I want to do this and I stop, and not even self-care, right? Oh, let me try knitting. Oh, I got to stop that. I just don't get into it. This is the only thing that I've really kept. And I think the benefits for me that I see are, I don't think I'm any calmer. I think I'm just a snarky Jersey girl. I don't think you could take that out of me. But I think when things happen, I am less likely to be reactive and a
Yeah.
little more stop, take a breath, and be responsive.
It's so interesting you said that, because the other finding that he shared with us, they did this study with people who meditate regularly and those who don't.
Mhm.
And the experiment was they would put hot water. There was a thing that would put hot water on their wrist, but it was not hot enough. You know what I'm talking
You
about?
posted this. I saw
Oh
that.
yeah. So
Fascinates me.
yeah, so funny. The reason I post, and the reason I was going to share it again, and maybe I will, just so other
Yeah,
people can hear
please
it.
do. Yeah.
Every time, teaching is the best form of learning, right? So
Yes.
it's hard to communicate, but essentially what I said in the post is they put hot water on you, not enough to burn you. And those who didn't meditate and they did a buzz 10 seconds before, when they heard that buzz, they would start, actually, their brain waves would start feeling that pain and the anxiousness towards it. And then after it was over, they'd feel it 10 seconds later. Those who meditated actually only felt it when it happened, but a little bit more intense.
Wow.
And the takeaway was that to separate being uncomfortable from pain,
Right.
and they're not the same.
Right.
And that was an interesting thing, because most people who, if you don't meditate, you connect it to, but if you're able to have that mindset. So it reminded me when you said that, of that experiment. So that's great.
Yeah. There's a good book on meditation called, I think it's called, oh gosh, pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional.
Wow. Love it.
And so it's, yes, you're going to experience pain, you're going to experience challenge, trouble, all of that. How much attention you give that can lead to suffering, and how you manage pain or challenges or all of that can lead to suffering, or it can lead to working through. So the suffering piece, I think, is, yeah, I think that's that responsiveness versus reaction. I think sometimes,
For sure.
yeah. Yeah.
Just to get a little vulnerable for a moment.
Yeah.
So today is October 9th when we're filming this.
It's October 10th.
No.
Oh, today's the 9th. Oh, tomorrow's the 10th. Oh, shoot. I just posted it was World Mental Health Day today. Okay, it's tomorrow. Go ahead. Yeah, so today's October 9th.
The reason I know that, it's my mom's birthday, who passed away last May, before year and a half ago. And so I just did a post on Facebook for her. And I'm like, oh my God, did I miss her birthday? Went for a second when you said that.
Sorry.
I did see you recently post on LinkedIn that September was a tough month for you. You mentioned about bereavement. You didn't really get into the specifics. No. I don't want to pry if that's okay. But
yeah, I lost my mom.
You lost your mom as well.
Yeah.
When was that?
She passed on September 10th.
Of this year.
This year. Yeah.
Wow.
A few weeks ago. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I didn't realize. I didn't realize it was so soon.
Yeah. I didn't It's complicated.
Yeah,
And we had an interesting relationship, I guess you could call it. And it wasn't bad, it was just complicated. The feelings that come along with that are also complicated. Not
totally.
not reacting the way people think you should react when your mom dies, or and then also being surprised at some of the emotions that I felt around it. So yeah, love my mom, and it was just like a different sort of relationship than I know a lot of people have with their moms. But yeah, it was an interesting and still is. The grief is its own thing.
I'm still in denial, and a year and a half
I'm
later,
sure.
that's why I share it. That's why these are actually pictures of her that
Oh,
you can
I
see
love
that are
that.
blurred out. And I appreciate that. And like one of the things for me, and again, relationships are different.
Sure.
I realized I want to talk about her. I
Mhm.
want to talk about what happened. And you don't really know when someone who has someone who loved one passed away, how to react to that. And so for
Sure.
me, I just want to talk about if they want to talk about them, because that's what I know I want. Not everyone
Yeah.
wants the same thing. And I know you share with me ahead of time. We asked you some questions, the power of vulnerability. Maybe it was at work, maybe it's that. So I'd love just how has vulnerability helped you in your career? But, and also, is that something when you think about PD at your law firm, is that something you're actually sharing as that the attorney should be thinking about?
Yeah. Yeah, I think about it as like selective vulnerability, right? And I do think I still have, 30 years later, maybe it's my age, that like workplace things, and there's kind of standards in the workplace that you don't bring stuff to work. You can't avoid it at times. So I also gone through a divorce 10 years ago, and like you can't separate. There's not two of you. And so there's not work me and personal me. So I think vulnerability in the workplace is a little bit more about knowing that you don't know everything and being willing to learn and admit mistakes and recover from them. And not just me, but from the attorneys and everybody else too. And also being authentic, I think, is really important for attorneys to advocate better. They have to be authentic. You can't just be
Yeah.
acting. And so I think certain vulnerability is based on level of relationships that you have with people, right? There's people here at the workplace that I'm far more vulnerable with, that I've been friends with forever, versus others who may be a little less vulnerable, but still authentic, if that makes any sense.
No, I think bringing your full self, and I agree. Like it's definitely a different mindset from when I started my career in '99 to
Mhm.
now. About there's a professional you and a personal you back then. Now I just like, and that's how I talk about a Lawline. We're one
Yeah.
person, especially because we're remote now. We used to be fully in person. If you can't bring your true self, it's really not. People don't get to know you in that sense. But to your degree, oversharing could, and also for lawyers, it's not traditionally a place
Yeah.
where well-being is, and that's why I know, I'm sure in 2020 when it became part of, like, what was that transition? Was that like a fight to say, okay, I want well-being as part of the function, the department, and then obviously now 2 months ago having your title, what is that actually, why is that a big deal if it is to your firm, and what has happened there?
Yeah. The the story about how the well-being evolved here is probably, as most firms, the ABA Well-Being Pledge. And early 2020, we were gung ho on Well-Being Week in Law. And we were making all these plans, and we had just met, I want to say, like in February, to think about what we're going to do in May for Well-Being Week. And then March, everything shuts down. And then it was like all I did was well-being. It was
Yeah.
like we were doing photo contests and we were doing all kinds of things. And it was for everybody, not just lawyer well-being, but like the firm. And I remember specifically reaching out to our managing partner and chair and just checking on them personally versus just throwing things out there too. So having some personal connection was important to me to make sure people were okay.
Yeah, for
Or
sure.
as okay as they could be. And then it just kept going from there. I think collaborating with our HR team to make a firm-wide well-being effort, because at the time I was really focused just on attorney stuff, attorney well-being. And I think at most firms, there's this divide between professional business professionals and attorneys, but well-being crosses all of
Right.
those lines. And so we really try to collaborate on programming and all of that. I don't know how I leaned into the well-being thing. It just became really important to me. And maybe it's because I was thinking about my own well-being, thinking about my
Sure.
kids, thinking about other things. But I just have a strong kind of
Look,
caring about other people thing is going on. That's where I try and focus a lot of attention. And then I've been doing the well-being work since then, since early 2020. But adding it to my title recently just made sense. I think it elevated the visibility of the program a little bit as well.
what specific programs do you guys do internally, or what companies? You mentioned John Prop. He's actually going to be on this podcast next month, I think.
Oh,
Do you work with him to come in and do programs? Do you work with other outside providers? Do you put your own things on internally?
I think both. I think we try to do something. We try to do programming every month. A lot of that is with our benefits providers, some Cigna, or do some health stuff, or Prudential, do some financial well-being programming. So we do have an agreement with some of our providers to do programming each month. We do bring in John, or we've brought Kara Hardin in.
She was in her program just went live, and she's the one I learned the 1 minute meditation from.
Oh,
She's awesome. She's
yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, she did it. We try to do like one marquee program, I call it, during Wellbeing Week in Law.
Yeah.
To do that. But we do a lot of internal programming. I did a program for our pro bono attorneys on secondary trauma recently, so we try to do internal stuff as well as external.
Do you find the attorneys are every hour away from billing and working is stress? How does it's almost like the catch 22, taking time away from billing or something to take a well-being course is there a push and pull there?
There is push and pull. I think some people who are lean into it. I think some people never will. I learned a long time ago that if I can only impact one person, I've impacted one person. So that's a win. I think we have a partner in charge of well-being who also helps us endorse and allow for that time to be taken for well-being versus billing. We don't do billable credit for well-being stuff. I don't think a lot of firms do.
Yeah.
But I think it's important even just we'll put stuff on our intranet. Like I said, I just posted about World Mental Health Day tomorrow. So post little tips or things just on our intranet. If you see it, it's on the landing page when you land. Here's our well-being tip for this week or whatever. I think just the little things, it doesn't have to be an hour of programming. But my latest thing is well-being isn't dessert. And I'm convinced that if you do your well-being first, right? I do my meditation first thing in the morning, that sets the tone and gives you a better setting for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Your time doesn't get away from you. You've already set that kind of practice for yourself, whatever that is, running, exercise, whatever it is, versus, oh, I'll do that later. Okay, once I get my work done, then I'll do something for my well-being. We all know that doesn't happen.
Have you ever seen I don't know if it's a TEDx talk or just YouTube video. I think it's Admiral McKinley. I could have the name wrong, where he said
making his bed. Yeah, love that.
Regardless of what happens the rest of the day, if you made your bed, you did your meditation. I happen to journal. My meditation is writing and thinking. I journal about what I did the day before, even if I'm just saying this is what I did.
Yeah.
This has been years. I went, you know how it is. What did you do last week? You have no idea on a certain day. I now know, at least going 5 years back, what I've done every single day, for better or worse. And I can see the themes and trends when I change and when I don't change. So that's been really interesting.
I just started journaling like a month ago or so. Yeah, sometimes I'm like, I don't know what I want to write about. And I just start writing about what I did or what I'm looking forward to today or whatever that is.
Well,
yeah.
So I don't know if you've seen my LinkedIn post today.
Yeah.
If you look at afterwards, came from my journal. And it was uncomfortable sharing it. I was going through my LinkedIn feed, as I sometimes do at 6 a.m, because that's like the time I can do it where I'm not too busy. And I'm like, wow, people are doing so many amazing things, or at this conference, or that conference. And it used to be like Instagram was the FOMO. And I'm like, oh shoot, this is like FOMO on LinkedIn now. And so first I started writing about all the FOMO I was having, because I want to do more speaking and be out there. And then I took a second. I'm like, here's the 8 things I've done in the past 2 months and what I'm doing next month. And then I was like, oh, I should share this because if I feel this way, I know other people are feeling this way looking on LinkedIn. And so far, I don't know, 20 people. Not that it's a thing, but it's like only a couple hours in. And so like, to your point, if that helps one person, that's why I do that. But I don't overthink any post. You don't overthink any meditation and any journal. This topic, if that's okay. And then I'll bid you adieu. On the topic of well-being, but let's transition to AI. I've talked a lot about AI on this podcast, more not really ever related to the well-being of the attorney, more about how that's going to reduce the billable hour, or how it's going to make things more efficient, or how the associate job's going to be now less focused on the drudgery and more on other things. But when you think about well-being and AI, where does your mind go?
In the work context, well-being and AI, I am worried that there's going to be a lot more of insecurity among our attorneys, because I feel like the opportunities for hands-on learning are disappearing. And so there's AI can do something in far less time. So I feel like the overworking is going to be an issue, right? Because the they're focused on, and I just talked about 4 different things, but I think
That's how I like it.
the focus on the billable hour is okay, it used to take me 5 hours to do this thing. Now it's going to take me 45 minutes, if that.
Correct.
And so now I have four more hours I have to make up because now I haven't done that. So now I have to work more. And now I have to work more. Now I have to work more. And I'm
But just to pause there, is that actually happening yet that you see?
I don't see it quite yet, but I do see where in a system that ours and most firms have, where you have to hit your billable target, you get bonused on that, or you get rewarded for billable target for working all these hours.
Yeah. And do you
How
think that's really going to happen? Because I've seen this, there's already been things that make things more efficient. And I've
sure.
talked to a lot of clients who
Mhm.
have not seen their bill go down at all, really, to some degree. And when I spoke to attorneys in Big Law about that, they said the way we position it is, especially if it's a litigation case, it's one, both sides are using AI. So we have to be competitive. Two, it's about getting you the best result possible versus saving you on the billable hour. And so
Sure.
what I heard was like, so are you just, I got confused by that. Because
Yeah.
if it's taking you 45 minutes and you're still billing 5 hours, are you just making it up? And so that's a good question. What happened? To your point, you can't just make it up because they're fiduciary duty, their attorney. So what
Right.
happens in those 4 hours? Like
Right.
meditation? I don't know. Like,
Meditation. No, I think those 4 hours then have to come from other work sources. So there's other work that has, I think the
right. There's
idea of
always more work to be
generating
done.
more work,
Now
right?
I get it. I
And
get it
then the
totally.
pressure on the partners to generate more business and do more work, I think is going to continue
Got it.
to be.
But that's interesting because to your point, if you have enough business, it's like UPS, right? You,
Sure.
you finish this, there's more you'll be able to take in more clients. And
Right.
so in a way, there's an argument to be made. 5 hours is 5 hours. Doesn't
Sure.
matter what you're doing. But if you're working on 4 completely different topics and trying to figure out how to get that in, it's a different well-being mindset. Is that where you're getting at
I
versus
think
just,
so.
yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I think there's and maybe I'm making it up, right? Maybe this is just
No, I
my
get it. Everyone's making it
imagination.
up right now. It is.
Everyone's making, yeah, we're all making it up as we go along. I'm worried about the skills gaps that AI is
Yeah.
creating too, right? So then it's like you have to write, you still have to learn how to write. Do I really have to learn how to write if someone's going to write for me?
Well,
And do I just now need to know how to edit?
I saw a recent post that you're also welcoming the new associates who
Yeah.
recently joined.
Yeah.
How is AI? Is there a certain requirement of training that they need for
Mhm.
AI right now?
Yeah, the firm launched a recent initiative about our AI initiative and practice and journey. And we have an AI practice group now, like for our clients. And we spent a lot of time in our partner retreat 2 weeks ago talking about this. And I think getting everyone up to speed, I don't think the new associates are worried about being up to speed. I think it's more of how are they going to use their AI knowledge and leverage that in a way that benefits the clients and benefits the partners and others while they are still learning the practice of law.
Totally.
And that I think is a really interesting crossroads that we've got this new generation of lawyers coming who know these tools and know how to use them better than these experienced practitioners. How are we going to bring those two together to the benefit of our clients and the benefit of all our attorneys?
No, I just read a post about someone else who, for law school admissions, I think some schools are testing out requiring somebody to submit an essay that is written by AI to see how well they can use it. Like, so it actually works in as well. And it's interesting, the admissions process, but you take that to law school and to the legal school, that's actually interesting training.
Sure.
Okay, let's see what this looks like. Have you looked for hallucinations? Have you looked for other things like that? Yeah, that's interesting as well. Besides the billable hour, is there anything else that stands out? Because you mentioned a couple of things in there, but we might have covered it just now. Is there anything else that when you think about AI and well-being that not keeps you up at night, but like certainly is on your radar?
I think not yet, but I'm always just waiting for, okay, what's next? And
Yeah.
working with our knowledge management team, our partner technology committee to try and stay ahead of it as much as we can,
Yeah.
or at least stay at pace with it and not fall behind. Because
In every job, every company, every industry is having the same conversation.
right,
We're having our executive leaders meeting in a couple of weeks. This is obviously part of the
yeah,
focus.
right.
The last question I'd like to ask, and I know you mentioned a book before and I wrote it down somewhere. Okay, you can bring that up, is what books have been impactful for you in your career, both from an AI or legal well-being space, but could be anything that you would want others to take advantage and be able to read?
Yeah, I was thinking about this. I don't have a lot of good answers. I have a lot of I probably don't read as much as I should or quote would like to. I don't like using the
Sure.
word should. I feel should is a shame word, but I would like to
Totally.
read
Yeah.
a little bit more. And
I
every
shame
time,
myself all the time. Don't worry.
yeah, okay, good. And I feel like anything on leadership skills, I feel like that is something that I am really drawn to, is figuring out how to be a good leader and how to show others how to be a good leader. So I do some of Adam Grant's work on leadership stuff. Paula Davis she just wrote Lead. I haven't read it yet, but I've seen some excerpts from it that look really interesting. But the concept of leadership, I think, is something I I'm torn on. I've been torn on this for a little while. I teach a GW end of court class every year on skills, not technical skills. I don't like calling them soft skills, but that's what everybody else calls them. Business skills, I call them. And I always ask them, do you think leadership can be taught? And I think a leader, you can teach organizational skills, you can teach delegation, you can teach how to do good feedback, you can teach these other skills, but is leadership a skill, or is it a trait, or is it something you just develop by getting all of these other things? So I'm just fascinated by the topic of leadership and how that evolves, because I've seen good leaders and I've seen not great leaders, not at the firm necessarily, but like all over in other organizations that I'm a part of. And so it's kind of, oh, what is it about that person that makes them a good leader versus what is about this person who does it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like Simon Sinek, he puts it so well in everything that a lot of it says, the book that's Leaders Eat Last, where he gives the example
Yeah.
of he was in the army or the Navy or whatever, and the mess hall, the
Mhm.
leader waits for everyone to eat and then they eat.
Yeah.
It was that I learned a lot from, because in meetings in a conference room, I used to be the first one to speak. And I was like, oh, once I speak, I set the tone and then people,
Correct.
whatever. And so I literally, it's now we're on Zoom, but it gets so awkward. Like we'll ask a question and people are waiting. I'm just like, and
Yeah.
I'll just let it be silent for 5 minutes. I don't care until
Yeah.
something, and then eventually somebody talks. And the other thing, I'm on the board of YPIA, Young
Yeah.
Presidents Organization, and I was on Entrepreneurs Organization for a while, and I was the president of the New York chapter, and I was leading other entrepreneurs who ran their own large, interesting businesses, and they were all volunteers. And that's where the term servant leadership really becomes important,
Huge.
because my job as leader is to help make your life easier, not for you to change my life.
Right.
And especially when they're volunteers, it's a new mindset there. And I work really hard on that. And then the final thing that's, when you said all that stuck out, again, I don't know if it was the same person who I saw him speak. It might've been McKinley, because I think he wrote a book as well, because I saw him speak. He talked about the old way that this was during, I think maybe the Iraq war, but it was the old command and control structure. This relates to companies too, the hierarchy of leader, follower. And he said, what he looks at them like, and they had to switch that because they weren't getting the intel. And they started doing these open meetings where everybody was talking. And the way he looked at himself as a leader, and this is really stuck with me too, is you're a planter, you're planting seeds and you're putting the seeds in the garden and letting those seeds grow. And that's your team. So just wanted to share some things that stood out to me.
No, I love that. The servant leadership thing that the military does so well, I think better than anybody. I think that's where that model comes from, right? Servant leader.
Yep.
I think I've seen kind of the best leadership style where it's as a leader, your job is to develop other leaders and bring other people up. And I think that is just such a great trait that someone can have. So yeah, I'm fascinated by that servant leadership concept.
It's the one thing, if you know how to do well, you can work any. Why do you think CEOs of Fortune 500 companies make so much money? Because they can lead. That's it.
Right.
And yeah, maybe sometimes they know knowledge, but it's about leadership. And so I'm with you. I would double, triple, quadruple down. Sometimes it becomes, you read the fourth book on it. It's like, what do you do? And that's why taking action and experimenting on being a leader is great.
Yeah.
Johnna, I really appreciate everything in this conversation. I think we covered a lot. I've learned about to reshare and learning from what you've shared with me. And I know others will get value from it as well. So thanks for taking the time. And for anyone who's made it this far, we really appreciate that as well. You hopefully will be able to use this in your journey of well-being and growth.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor. It's been such a great conversation.
Yes, I hope it's the first of many.
I would love that.
All right. Thank you.
Have a great day, David.